At some point as a species, we gain the ability of empathy, and with that, we at some point notice that causing harm and suffering to other people that are like us isn't necessarily the best thing, and we should probably avoid that unless it's on a funny game show. I thought that was a good intro. That was a good intro, right? I like that intro. But before we get into it, my name's Mr.Thirdperson, the internet substitute. I make videos about anything that comes to mind, if it comes to mind, when it comes to mind, just to remind myself that I have a mind. So if you enjoy this, please like and subscribe to hear more, and I'll see you around. As long as I can remember, there has always been some sort of show on television that was purposely designed to humiliate and abuse and just thrive off of the pain and suffering of other people. And as long as I can remember, we've all just been sitting and laughing and enjoying it. The first case of this I can remember is Takashi's Castle. Takashi's Castle to this day is still hilarious, but at the same time, it's like, what are these doing to these people?
And let's go to our MXC Impact.
They're trying to run up this castle, dude, it's a bouncy castle, and they're getting pelted and hit with rocks, and like they were getting pies thrown at them and just random stuff thrown at them, while these like overseers that were like high up, that were just watching over them and laughing and ha 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 ha. We would watch this and enjoy ourselves, and we were looking forward to every new week when a new episode would come out, and we were actually disappointed and sad when the show got canceled. We were like legit upset, but with that came a plethora of new shows, dude. There was that show of people trying to fit in the holes, and it was funny because some people obviously couldn't fit in any sort of hole, so they would just stand there just freaked out. And it's not all physical, it's also oftentimes also mental agony and pain that they cause. One of the most mentally painful and agonizing things was that lying show where they weren't allowed to lie. Before the show started, they were giving a list of questions that they had to answer, and they had to answer these answers. They had to answer these questions truthfully. They weren't like, what's your favorite color? And if you answered the wrong favorite colors, they would ask like painfully honest stuff.
Do you believe you might have been in love with a former boyfriend on your wedding day?
And if you like, it's kind of fake suspense anyway because it's a television show. If you're honestly not guilty about something, you don't take longer than half a second to answer honestly. Because at that moment, if Richard didn't cheat on his wife in Costa Rica, he would just say, no, show's over. He wins the 500,000 or $1 million, however much it was, and the show's done, credits roll. And then possibly the most humiliating and agonizing show, Fear Factor. Dude, I was watching that as like a 7-year-old watching Fear Factor as if it was the most normal thing on the planet, bro. These people are like halfway traumatized, eating bull nuts or like Godzilla caterpillars, and they're in tears and crying and throwing up, and then they have to sit in a tank of snakes for 6 hours or whatever. Like, bro, these are legal torture methods that they're using to make money and entertain us, and we're just okay with it. We're accepting of it. So when the show about game shows that was kind of like a play on game shows came out, Squid Game, for some reason we didn't connect the dots like, oh, this is a satire in a sense on what we're actually doing, but it's still not a problem what we're doing, because the difference is they don't die when we do it, so it doesn't count. It's okay to torture and humiliate and put them in pain as long as they come out alive at the end, because that's the only difference between Squid Game and real life. Real life has free will. Squid Game has a script. Squid Game's script is if you fail the game or you choose to leave or you want to leave, you die. You get nothing. Dead. When in real life, at any moment, you have the free will to go, fuck this, I'm out. And then you just walk away. Now, of course, there are other like aspects. For example, like this is actually an aspect that Squid Game hit on the nose, is that in Squid Game, they purposely picked out candidates who were like super down bad, who were having a really hard time in life. Some of them were homeless people. Some of them were people that were bankrupt. Some of them reputations were ruined, and they had nothing else to lose. They had nowhere else to go. So the Squid Game organizers picked them up and brought them to the Squid Games and had them play like, here's your chance to regain your life or to lose it. So it's like an all or nothing type of deal. In real life, it's similar. A lot of these people that sign up for the game show, I don't know any rich person that signs up for a game show. When was the last time you saw David Hasselhoff on Fear Factor? Or when was the last time you saw Katy Perry trying to fit into one of those holes on that show? They don't need that. It's always people that actually need the money. And then in some shows, they even ask them like, when you win the $10 million prize, what will you do? And they're like, I'm gonna pay off my car loan. Like, guys, dream bigger, first of all. Okay, fuck the car, get a private jet. All right. In Squid Game, you get the incentive, and in real life, you also get the incentive. So you have the pressure of losing the incentive and going back to your just boring, like basic average life. And in Squid Game, you regain your life, but still at a smaller scale. If you just look at the ideology behind it, it's the same thing: humiliation and agony and pain for others' entertainment. In Squid Game, it was literally that. The big boss, the old dude who participated in the games, which is actually something I didn't like about this show. The aspect of using these people. Ausnutzen. Is there another word? Exploiting. The idea of exploiting people who are not well off to entertain people that are well off is the same difference in Squid Game or in real life. Now in Squid Game, I honestly, when they did the reveal at the end that the old dude was the main organizer of everything, I was hoping that he would actually speak on that. I was hoping that he would actually make that a conscious decision to have taken these people who are poor and who have nowhere else to go and have nothing else to lose. And he'd say, look at how we treat these people. We treat them like animals, like dirt. But at the end of the day, they're still human beings. They didn't do that. They just had him say, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed watching it. That was the only reason. And that's kind of not necessarily boring, but it doesn't give the viewer the chance to connect the dots of, oh, that's exactly what I'm doing sitting on this couch right now. I am also exploiting these people for my gain. And it's funny enough is that most people that watch these shows, they're in the same position. They just didn't go to the show. They just didn't play in the game show and do the stuff, right? But if they had the chance to win that money doing something, they probably would. And it's messed up. And the people that are organizing it and the higher ups, that the producers of these companies, they're obviously perfectly well off. Look at Joe Rogan. You think Joe Rogan gave a fuck about these people eating spiders and hog testicles and shit? No, he's doing his podcast. And then it gets one-upped by game shows going outside of the corporate production and going into private production, which is how you end up with MrBeast. And what MrBeast did was kind of make like an ironical game show, because at the beginning it was just him and his friends in the garage, and he told his friends to hold the car, and if whoever held the car the longest, they got the car. Also something that only somebody that's super privileged and rich before starting it off could do. And then transformed and developed into him actually doing Squid Games. That's an actual show where they don't die, but they wish they would, because allegedly a lot of the people that were on the set of Squid Games, like a lot of the participants of his little Squid Game thing, they had a really bad time and they weren't taken care of. Now, of course, this had to have been, if it's true, a conscious decision by the production team, because they wanted these people to be suffering even more during the games, like show more intensity and strive and need to win this thing. Now, I don't know if it was an accident that MrBeast just ended up being the thing that he was trying to, like, he was definitely trying to imitate it, but I don't know if he was trying to imitate it this far, because MrBeast got to a point where he's literally like actually contributing to the pain and suffering of these people in these game shows. The corporate part is like there's contracts and legalities and stuff, which I mean, pretty sure MrBeast has that as well, but there's some sort of like professionality to it that MrBeast doesn't have, because at the end of the day, he's just a dude with like a bunch of people that he picked out. But to make it like less apparent that he's a very different entity than these corporations, he started doing like donation work, like giving people sight that were blind before, or didn't he build a school somewhere in Africa or something, some stuff like that. Like he does like humanitarian aid stuff to distract from the fact that he's still agonizing these people. Like he's still punishing them for existing by giving them the hope of winning something. The incentive is the whole driving aspect, and these people are so wanting to do it. And at the same time, of course, it's the pressure of not wanting to be seen as the person that gave up and like wanting to gain popularity through these videos, because they all usually have some sort of social media presence where they want to gain awareness of who they are and what they're doing. But at the same time, it's like, how much would you push yourself? What would you put yourself through just to get some sort of reward at the end? I actually had this conversation with my mom yesterday, because I'm not going to go into specifics, but there is a country that is recruiting people for their military from a different country by telling them, oh, your life will be great once you come to our military, and then they end up dying in that military. And my mom said no matter how bad her life was, she couldn't imagine joining an entity like a group where you could potentially lose your life. Now me on the other hand, I'm like, I would probably do that as well. If my life was horrible and I saw no way up and you had no hope, you would do anything to regain that hope and that drive in life to actually succeed and become something. Now, I guess different people, like with different mindsets, just have different ideas of this, but that's just how I feel, and that's obviously how a lot of these people feel it on these shows. I don't know if these people are also in the same position that the people from Squid Game were, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They're still going through the same shit. They're still going through the same difficulties and hardships within these shows, and we're having fun with it. We're enjoying it. Now, I'm not telling you you shouldn't. I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty for enjoying these shows. I enjoy them too. I don't watch MrBeast because it's kind of like, it's like super brain dead. Like I have zero interest in that. But I've also watched game shows in the past. I thought they were pretty funny. I also don't watch game shows now. That's just not where I get my enjoyment from. I have the human sense of, oh, these people sign up for themselves. This is 100% free will. They want to do it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to see them do it. I don't care. That's not something that I'm interested in. I don't gain anything from seeing these people get pelted by fake rocks and stones and stuff. And I'm not going to be sitting here laughing at them like, haha, you signed up to do this thing because you have nothing better to do, apparently. Like, that's just a weird thought to me. Like I said, I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty for doing it. I'm just trying to point it out. That's all I'm trying to do. And now Squid Game season 2 trailer has released like a week ago. The dude, the main character, thank God he lost his red hair. He's not wearing the red wig anymore. And there was a whole big plot about him looking for his brother, and there's a police detective, and apparently, or the police detective is looking for his brother, and the brother is apparently the leader of the games because he got brought to the games himself, and all this different stuff, right? I heard that there were rumors that he would go back to the games, and I was hoping he would go into the games and he would try to cause some sort of revolution, like he starts some sort of revolution to break the system. But in the trailer they show, these people just want to win the money. They don't care about breaking the system, because if they break the system, they don't get the money. And this is also another parallel to real life. If you want to break the system, there are still going to be people who be like, well, I'm kind of living off the system, even though if I'm living trash, like it's still a system that could potentially get me to profit. But at the end of the day, if you just break the system, maybe we could all profit in the long run. Maybe you just need to put a little more work in. I think Squid Game season 2 will continue the typical Netflix thing of they could make a messaging, but they're probably not going to, because they want to make more seasons so that they can add more entertainment and make more money, which is what all these shows do. They torture and put people in pain and terrorize them and agonize them and traumatize them so that we can be entertained. I think it's the people watching it just want to something to distract them from the 9 to 5 daily like death loop that it actually is. Like you're just giving up a piece of your spirit every day you go to work. You go to work at a place you don't want to be, for a person you don't want to work for, doing a thing you don't care about. What's the difference between that and going to a game show for a few days, eating a couple deer testicles, and then getting your money that way? That's all I'm saying. And I feel like Suicide Squad. Oh, I don't know how. Dude, dyslexia? What's dyslexia of speech? Because when I read stuff, I mess up. I just found out recently that the Pokemon, the little bear cub Pokemon, isn't called Teddiursa. Or is that the name? Teddiursa? It's not called Teddiursa. It's Teddiursa. There's an old man across the window who just opened his window, and I could tell that he wanted to look out, but then he closed it again because he saw me, and now he's just standing there. And I think he sees me, but he doesn't know that I see him. I think he thinks that, oh no, okay, he turned around and he walked away. All right, cool. The Pokemon, the bear cub Pokemon, I kept calling it Teddiursa, but it's I kept calling it nigga, what the fuck? And I don't remember what the actual name is or what the name was that I was calling it.